So you took a decision, but when you kind of applied and you took a decision to give it a go, did you know that your life is going to change because America is different from Europe and especially from Switzerland? And what did change? What was the change that you experienced when you came here?
I knew that it would change, obviously, because this is a completely different market, but I knew also that it was something that was unknown territory for me. And when I was listening to you speak, one thing that really resonates with me is that I like when things are a bit uncomfortable. I like when things are a bit foreign, because I know that after overcoming that, you feel that you've stretched yourself.
Yeah.
But if I live in a place where I always know how things work, it's the same people.
There's no growth.
There's no growth, exactly. So when I came here, I said, I don't know the Swiss culture that well. I don't know Swiss German, and I don't know what the media market is like in Switzerland. But I think that is what makes it really exciting. So what has changed? Well, I came here just as a journalist. I was really hungry for opportunities and I just said yes to everything. And I think that what has really surprised me is that I wouldn't be expecting myself to sit here today, because I did have a lot of imposter syndrome. I said, I'm a foreigner, I'm a woman.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. It's really...
So how amazing that every single woman, all of us, somehow, at some point of our journey, we had that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Look at a beautiful young lady coming from New York, from CNN, and still have that imposter syndrome.
It's okay to have it, because
It's okay to have it.
Yeah, and that's important. But as long as you acknowledge it
Yes.
and get over it, that's fine. And what I like to tell myself when I go to events where I see everyone surrounding me and they're all wearing suits, they're all much older than me and have years of experience, I say, I was invited or I was hired to come here for a reason, and I'm doing something here or offering a service that people in the audience cannot do. They're the experts on this, but I'm leading an event or hosting an event.
Otherwise, why
exactly.
you? Yeah.
Exactly. And they come up to me and say, I couldn't do your job. And I say to them, well, I couldn't do your job. And I think as long as you understand that, then you gain more confidence.
And that's amazing. So then you came here, you started your new career journey here, and then COVID came. Yes. And then what happened?
Everyone has a very different experience of COVID. It was quite life-changing for me, because this was when CNN closed their offices in Switzerland. It was my dream job. I could imagine myself staying there for 10 years or forever, because I was really growing a lot in the company. And what changed was all the companies, corporates that sponsor, they started pulling out their marketing budgets, because TV advertising is really, really expensive. It's not the same as when you open up a magazine and you put an advertisement inside. TV is expensive. Yeah. So COVID came. I did not know that when they sent us home, that would be the last time we would go back into the office. And I have to tell you, there is nothing like the feeling when you get your first layoff. The amount of stress and pressure of finding a new job, but still feeling like I'm not even getting over the layoff, like mentally I'm not in a good place. That was a really few tough months for me, and also for my colleagues, because suddenly we had to pivot. And in Switzerland, there's not so many opportunities for English-speaking journalists. So I said, what do I do? Well, I reached out to every single media company possible. I wrote to everyone on LinkedIn, sent out emails to everyone, and I ended up at Forbes magazine, and I was the Swiss journalist here. I was the only one here, but had I not reached out, I wouldn't be working with them. And I have to mention something to you. Out of all the jobs that I've had, I've never gotten one by applying for a job. All of them have been through me reaching out to people directly. So forget about those.
That's a really good lesson. What we are learning here is that the opportunity doesn't come to you. You have to create it. And when the door is closed, you have to create your own door. And I can see your drive and your desire to make things happen. But why some people, Olivia, have you realized, because you're a journalist, you have interviewed lots of successful people, what have you learned? What are the best lessons that you have learned from these people? Why some people have this resilience and this drive to go and try it again and try it again? Somebody else, in your case, would just give up and say, I tried, I applied everywhere, hundreds of jobs, it doesn't work. They would blame Swiss, they would blame whatever, but you didn't give up.
No, because I think I always see the cup as half full and not half empty. I like it when things are a little bit uncertain, because when things are uncertain, you know that the potential is much more. But if you're in a system where you're going to your job 9 to 6 every day, your salary is defined, your hours are defined, and your schedule is defined. But being self-employed and as an entrepreneur, you know, okay, things might not be as stable, there are waves of growth, but you don't know how much you could earn, how big your network can grow. You don't know what your business could look like, but it could be so much more than what you already have in a day-to-day job. And I don't want to discourage people from pursuing, you know, corporate careers or things like that. Mm-hmm. I think that if you like structure, you should stay in corporate because that's where you thrive. You should always work in an environment where you thrive. But you can also be entrepreneurial in a corporate structure. Look for opportunities within your company and use their resources. Do they have their own internal magazine where they need thought leaders? Do they have their own podcasts? Do they host their own events? Have you raised your hand to be a speaker at any of those events?
Exactly, this is what I'm talking here.
This is something I want to ask all of you.
Mm-hmm.
Who here considers themselves as an expert in something? In something. Okay. And how many of you have spoken at a conference or an event? Okay. Do you think you could be speaking at more events? Yes. Okay. Yes. I'm going to tell you something from the inside because I work with a lot of these global congresses and conferences. The organizers usually don't have all the speakers lined up, all the hosts lined up. They think about this all at quite a late stage. So if you approach them early on in the planning and say, I would be a great speaker on this topic or this panel or in this session, they will keep your name in mind. Because if you hand yourself, your name on a plate to them,
100%.
then it's more likely that they will reach out to you rather than them having to
But Olivia,
research.
they come to me, I receive this kind of inquiries all the time. But the very first thing I ask, have you spoken somewhere else before? What is your topic? And also, I want to know what is the value that is bringing to the conference. So in your case, people,
so what do you do, right? Because you need the experience.
Exactly. In your case, you're a journalist. You have all this kind of experience. It was a no-brainer to say, yes, Olivia, please come. I would say yes immediately if you come to my summit. Because you have raised your bar. You have raised your name. That's why I'm asking every single woman in the room, can you just become a celebrity in your industry? Now, here's another thing. I have a podcast with Andrea McLean, and we invited one of the top senior editors from the Sky to give some ideas to the students that we're teaching about media training. And he said something very powerful. He said, nowadays, everybody has the ability to start a broadcast. You don't need to be a journalist. By just using social media, which is a free marketing tool, you can be the journalist of your industry. How true is that? Do you believe that everybody in this room, for example, can have a podcast or can have a YouTube channel or can use their voice just to make herself known for what they do?
So, do you scroll through LinkedIn a lot?
Oh yeah, we all do that. Yeah.
And do you always see people who are talking about XYZ topic even though they might not have all the credentials?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes. Well, I see this quite a lot, and I always check their background and said, wait, how are they in a position to be speaking about this topic?
Who they are, yes.
And I realized something. Instead of me always questioning this or doubting that, I should actually admire their ability to actually put themselves out there. Because in the amount of time that I've spent 1 hour scrolling, I could have just set up my camera with my phone and also recorded something. So what I'm saying to all of you is actually just do an experiment. Give yourself a challenge this week. Something very simple. Create a 1-minute reel or a video of yourself. You don't need this crazy setup. Just get your partner to hold the phone, and now you can do everything with AI and whatever, editing software. And just put that out there, okay? Because as long as you take that first step and you've posted it, then the next time is not so scary. And then just to your point, how do you sell yourself online if you haven't had the experience before? I'm going to tell you, you see a lot of people on LinkedIn that say, I'm a speaker, I'm a keynote speaker, I'm XYZ. Maybe they've only spoken at one event before. Maybe they've only spoken at 2, but they still call themselves a speaker. Or maybe you haven't spoken at any.
But how about that? They say, I'm an author, an upcoming author.
Yeah.
And then maybe their book is not written yet, but they're still selling the book.
Why not? If everyone is doing that and you're not doing that, then they will be already ahead of you. So my suggestion to you now is go to your LinkedIn after this. If you have in your byline something expert, put in front of it a global expert, international expert, because this is all about building your visibility online. If you're not a speaker yet, but you're planning to be a speaker, put it in your bio, speaker, and you can say, I'm a speaker on XYZ topics. Because even though you haven't spoken at an event before, you can speak on those events. And you're telling people that you're available. But if you're going to sit back and wait for someone to let you speak, then you're never going to be able to speak.
Absolutely incredible. But here's another thing, which is you have raised a very valid point. If you create some kind of consistency, for example, today we had some women who came and spoke here. Did you do a video about it? Did you create a picture? If you are showing with consistency, like today I was in Zurich, and last week you were in London, next week you're going to Paris, the week after you're going to Amsterdam, or not every week, but let's say like next month, but you create, coming from the media, we know how important is the news. We have to be able to create the news. Now, the news doesn't need to be every single time I'm speaking here, I'm speaking there. But once in a while, it really helps you when you create that consistency of public speaking, or maybe you're talking in a podcast, or maybe you are doing a live Instagram with somebody and you record it, or you're going to do a Zoom, or you're going to run a webinar, or it can be anything. How important is consistency?
It's really everything, because I meet so many people, and I think the most successful ones are the ones that have built really good habits that they've built in. And these don't have to be crazy habits, because right now you probably have on your to-do list, I need to exercise, I need to eat healthy, I need to reach out to this people, I need to do that and that, and you feel like you're only achieving maybe 10% of each goal. Okay, then start small. Set something that is a non-negotiable for you that you can do every week. And once you have that discipline for something small, you feel motivated and empowered to add on to that list. But don't think of 10 habits that you want to introduce straight away. So one thing I like to do is I send out 5 to 10 cold emails every week. I reach out to 10 new people. And even if one reaches back out to me, that's an extra contact.
I love that
is potential in my network. If you don't do that, then you're missing out on hundreds of potential contacts that are good for your network in a year. So if you want to build your brand, for example, you can say, okay, I want to post on LinkedIn at least once a week, and it's going to be every Monday at 10 o'clock, okay? Don't think, oh, I need to post 5 times a week just to get that reach. Just do that something small, and once you've developed that habit, then you'll be able to
and you know, you can repurpose the content. The very same content can go into your newsletter. That same content can go to Instagram or Facebook. And you never know where people are watching you. Another fear is, Olivia, people try and they don't get the followers, they don't get the likes, they don't get the engagement. And they think, oh, nobody's watching it. Are people watching?
Don't worry about that. because yes, you might look at numbers, and yes, numbers do play a role. But on LinkedIn, you can actually get a lot of impressions. So even if people don't like your contact,
they are watching you, yeah?
Yes, exactly. How many times have you scrolled without interacting with the post? And you've also had a look at someone's profile. So maybe your post only gets 12 likes, but the impressions is around 600.
Yeah.
And those are 600 eyeballs that you wouldn't have gotten if you hadn't posted in the beginning.
Now, now imagine if that is engagement as well. What these impressions are going to think about you. Oh, it's like, we went last night. We went to a restaurant, and we went there, and it was a massive queue. And then Ian said, "Should we go somewhere else?" And we looked at the other restaurant. There was like nobody there. I said, "No, I want to stay here. I want to stay in the queue. So when you have that kind of queue and engagement, you do whatever it takes to go there. So there are lots of tricks, and many times we find excuses. I don't have time, and this and that. Now you are a mother. You have 2 little beautiful ones, and you have developed a career, and you find the time to moderate and to speak and to be active, and still keep the family together. So how do you do it?
Okay, so when I was pregnant, obviously what I do is a very public role. I'm always on stage and in front of big audience. When I was pregnant, I thought, okay, maybe I can get to 5 months before people notice, because I can just wear baggy clothes. At one point, I was not even telling people I was pregnant online, because I was worried that maybe they don't want to hire a pregnant woman. But at some point, I just changed my mindset. I just rocked up to every event being hugely pregnant. And you could see in their eyes, they were a little bit like, oh, okay. But then 2 minutes later, they don't care, because they realize you're the same person, you're just a bit bigger.
But not only that, but it becomes an opportunity for opening a conversation, because you start talking about the baby and look at this. And
Actually, after one event, one mother came up to me, and she had brought her daughter to the conference, and she said that her daughter was so inspired by me on stage, and she said we need to see more of that, because how many events have you been to where a woman is highly pregnant and on stage?
You stand out.
You don't see that, right?
It's exceptional.
And how I managed to keep it all together, it's always the support system. So my parents are not here, they're all the way in Sydney. My husband has really supported me. When I gave birth to my first boy, I was breastfeeding, and of course, how do you breastfeed and moderate an event? I would be on stage, and as soon as there was a break, I would quickly leave, and my husband was outside pushing the pram, and I would breastfeed, and I would run back inside. And you can imagine when you're wearing a dress, you have to take everything off, breastfeed, go back in, and pretend like nothing has happened.
I love that.
Have to be really normal. But I think that after doing that, people, as soon as people see that, they don't mind. It's only if people haven't encountered something that they feel like, ooh, is that right? Or that's a bit weird, or that's a bit strange.
Inspiring.
But as soon as you do it, they don't care. The next time someone is breastfeeding and then moderating on stage, they'll be like, okay. And they might even give the next person more resources to do that, because they know they've seen that before.
So at what stage of your journey are you now? So you have experienced everything from beginning to the end, from the top to anything that has to do with media or moderation or conferences or reaching your dreams. Now, what's next?
This is a really interesting question, because of course when you have kids and you go on maternity leave, there are certain restrictions on you that you can't change. I gave birth last year, and this year I've told myself it's a year of growth and experimentation, because I'm not limited by maternity leave, the fact that I can't travel because I'm pregnant. I've taken this year really to be my year. So I've invested a lot in myself, in relationships, and I'm doing a lot internationally because I was restricted before. And I think that this year is a year of self-learning and experimenting. I have a list of all these to-do projects, things that are kind of related to my work, but more on the side that I want to pursue. And I'll just tell you something. I started a podcast last year. It's about the future of work.
Are you looking for some guests in your podcast?
I have a lot of guests, but of course I'm open to it. I started it last year, and I said, this is just a personal goal of mine. Let's try to do an episode every week. And I've done that, and I'm continuing that this year. I also want to start a dinner club series with women, connecting great business, good food, great design. And I also want to create women in media or general media networking event, bring all those people together, because working in media can be quite isolating sometimes.
And draining sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
And busy and boring, because even though it looks exciting, you have to go out there, check for the news, write the news, get it attractive for people, and do the same thing over and over again. I think it's a brilliant idea. That's amazing.
Thank you. And one thing that I want to add here is, it's a tip for everyone. When you reach out to people that you want to work with, that you find that there are synergies, come up with a proposal that they can see and that they can understand and that they can say yes or no. Because if you ask, maybe we brainstorm here, maybe there, it's quite a lot of work.
Just go straight to the point.
Because they're already busy with their day-to-day life. Imagine if someone reached out to you on LinkedIn and said, hey, Mirela, I had this proposal. Here's already the structure, the outline. Here's what I would need from you. Are you on board? You'd be like, okay, they've already done the foundation, the groundwork, and all I have to do is just agree whether this is something that I would like to be involved in. Just yes or no. So rather than reaching out to people and said, maybe
let's talk about it,
discuss
and let's
this.
Explore about.
Maybe in 6 months' time we'll come up with something. Come up with the foundation yourself.
So true.
Send it to 10 different people. If you hear back from just one person, that's already a potential client that you couldn't have gotten if you didn't reach out.
This is how I got my Andrea McLean. Andrea McLean is one of the top journalists in the country. She does Loose Woman. And a common friend introduced us. So first, I met her for a coffee. I said, okay, look, should we meet? We meet for a coffee very quick. And I felt like, there is something I would like to do with you, but give me 1 week time. I said, I will come back to you. And I did exactly this. 1 week later, I said, I have an idea. Should we jump in a call? And we jumped in a Zoom call. I said, this is it. Are you in? Are you out? Tell me now. I said, oh my God, I'm in. Let's do it. When? I said, well, in 2 weeks' time we have Global Women Summit, and after the Global Women Summit, the day after, we can do this.
See, it's so much easier if you just say if you're in or out.
And we had the most amazing project with media training, and everybody was coming and saying, oh my God, we're meeting Andrea McLean. So and you can reach anybody, and thank you. That's so true. I didn't think about it, but that's a really $1 million tip.
There's probably people that you would want to work with that you haven't gotten in touch with. So if you just reach out with a proposal, I'm sure next year you'll have a new collaboration or partnership.
Absolutely. Well, we will talk. Well, this is how we jumped into a conversation together, Olivia. I said, okay, what do we do together? How about this? How about that?
I think you have to tell people how I even ended up here. I think she just came across
How about you tell me?
I will tell. Okay. We were not connected before.
Yeah.
I think this is just
I still don't remember. How did we connect?
I think this is just 2 months ago. I interviewed Kate Winslet last year, and you saw a photo of me with Kate Winslet on LinkedIn, and you messaged me and said, hey, let's talk. So
you see?
She got my WhatsApp, and the next thing I know, she was calling me on WhatsApp and said, let's do something together. And I said, okay. Yeah, but if you hadn't asked me, maybe we would never have continued the conversation.
Yeah, so that's so true, because I came straight to the point with a proposal. Now, that's why you're bringing this. I mean, sometimes I do things, but I do it and then I think about it. Now I'm thinking about it. You're so right.
Just ask and think about it later.
Just ask. Now, somebody else would think, oh, but Olivia is so busy. She's a celebrity. She interviewed Kate Winslet. She worked for CNN. She worked for Forbes. What do I do? Should I text her? Well, every guru has been a beginner at some point, yeah?
And I'm not that busy. It looks more busy online, and I'm busy with day-to-day stuff. But people will always have time for you if they feel that you have something to align with.
But here's another thing. There are things that you do, especially when you invest into your brand, that nobody can take it away. Maybe there will be moments when you are busier, and there will be moments where you are not doing that much, because now, for example, priority for you is your family, your kids, and they take a little bit more time. But there are things that they will always be there as an asset, because what you have built is a great asset. And that also shows you that if you have done it once, you can do it again. And now you can do it bigger because you are more mature, because you have learned more, you are more humble. And when you become a mom, oh my God, you think in a complete different level. So my my belief, not feeling about you is like, you're going to 10x. You're just going. I mean, just
feel that
watch
as well,
her.
actually.
One day, I know. One day, just make sure you do a picture with her. One day you'll say, I met her. Oh, I met her. And you'll be proud of it. And maybe same, anybody in the room, because you never know when you have the ambition, and especially with the level of intelligence that you have and the practicalities, oh my God, you're unstoppable. There is nothing that you can't achieve. And can you sense that? That's incredible. And thank you so much for coming and joining us and being so simple and humble and listening to the stories of other women and Albanian style. So it has been a great honor. And thank you, Olivia.